What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Astrobot's early sales. Now, these are highly specific, but I do want to discuss it. You know me, I've been in support of this game for a very long time. Game came out. I freaking love the game. I want the game to sell for 1,000 reasons, many of which we've already talked about right on the channel. And so just in case I have to, I will say out loud that PlayStation gave me a code for this game. Not 100% sure I have to mention that to you guys when we're just talking about sales, but to just cover all the bases. All right, let's look at this thing. This comes from Christopher Dring, and this is the guy that, he's plugged in, he knows his stuff, and let's go over it. Astrobot's UK sales, physical only so far, aren't huge. Opening week is about a third lower than 2021's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, but I expect a longer sales tail for Astro. It certainly sold more copies in the UK in just 2 days than Concord sold worldwide. So you got to have that little jab of Concord at the end of there. But no, honestly, the reason I say, open up this video how I did, this is extremely specific, right? And I want to make that clear. It's why, I was kind of unsure if I wanted to talk about it, didn't know how it was going to be perceived. Anytime we get sales on this game, I do want to talk about it, just because, again, I want the best for this game. I want it to sell. I want it to show PlayStation that, number one, we should have more Astrobot games, and number two, you can go into this market. You can try a Sly Cooper. You can try a Jack and Daxter, and they can have confidence, right? That's a huge, huge reason. And if Astrobot's not going to sell, obviously that message is not going to get through to PlayStation. So all that being said, it is only the UK, and it is only physical, right? That is extremely limited. It's one place, and it's one method of buying the game, and it's the least used method, right? It's a method that most people buy digital, as we, have constantly said, over and over again. So I don't like to see that it's a third lower than Ratchet & Clank. Now, and I'll be honest, right? The first thing I thought of, and I might have even tweeted this, first thing I thought of was, well, it's been 3 years. And in those 3 years, if like everything holds as it has been, right, more and more people are going to digital. More people are playing games digitally now than they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Now, I say all that. That was what I thought. But actually, the very first tweet actually got an okay amount of likes. It actually got more likes than his response to the tweet. But there is a tweet that says, in 4 years, a lot more have moved towards digital, so the comparison with Ratchet can't offer much at this stage. Let's wait for the full numbers. And then he says 3 years and not really. So, I mean, yes, okay, it's been 3 years, right? 3 years and like 2 months. It is interesting, though, that he says not really, right? Because, again, I mean, that first tweet, although they got the years wrong, that is exactly what I thought as well, where it's like, we keep hearing that it's like an 80-20 split, maybe even like an 85-15 split, right? 85% buy it digitally, not just Astro, any game, and then 15% buy it, physically. And that number has slipped and slipped and slipped, right, as the years have gone on. So that's what I thought too, is that, okay, 3 years ago, people were buying physical a little bit more than they were buying it now. I'm not saying they were buying it 30% more than they're buying it now, but I imagine that the number, if it is, say, 80-20 or 85-15, I imagine 3 years ago, maybe it was 75-25 or 70-30, or maybe, maybe that's too big of a jump. Maybe it's not as big of a jump as I think it is. And, again, he says it's not. So that's interesting to me, that if you think along that path, you think, okay, well, no duh, is it going to sell less than Ratchet, because people have continued to move over to digitally. Now, digitally, it should beat Ratchet, right? That's going to be harder to see, because sometimes some of these sources don't have the official numbers. There's only a couple of them that I think actually know the official number of units sold, digitally, physically, both combined, right? Only a couple of them. So again, that's what I initially thought. It seems like that's not true. So, that's not great. Honestly, like if you believe him and you follow through, with everything that we just talked about, it's not ideal. Ratchet & Clank, and I guess, okay, well, why isn't it ideal? Well, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, we're not talking about a game that didn't sell anything, right? I think the leaks said that Ratchet sold maybe 4 million, 4 million. It ended up making its money back. It ended up making money, okay? And it did sell 4 million. I forget the number, so we'll just say one or the other, right? that's pretty good. If Astrobot finishes its lifetime with 3 to 5 million units, that's not bad at all. Now, you could say, oh, man, I was hoping it could get, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, yeah, I would like it to do that, but, like, this isn't God of War. This isn't Spider-Man. This isn't even Horizon, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, expectations. I did think of that going in where those were my, I think, reasonable numbers. Like, I was never expecting Astro to sell 10 million. I was hoping Astro could hit 4 or 5, maybe 6. I mean, I think 5 million, very nice number, right? I think if it can hit that, that'd be really good. And honestly, I don't think it would need that much to, I guess, okay, but here's where I'm kind of going with this. I don't think it needs to do all that well to earn its money back. It's a small studio. I think it got up to like 60 or so people, right? Like, they're not at 100. It took them 3-4 years to make this game. Like, there's no way this game cost them more than like $100 million, right? So I think this game that does 3, 4, 5 million sales, you are easily making money off of that, right? So granted, it doesn't need to sell 10 to be like this smash hit, right? But as I mentioned earlier, the thing with me and the reason why I want to talk about these things and just make videos on them is this is, I don't know, I don't want to call it a movement. I feel like that's kind of cringy, but I also kind of do. Like, this is a wave. Like, you want this to, again, signal to PlayStation to make more of these games. You want this to signal to PlayStation that they can take risks in this marketplace a little bit more kid-like. But, I mean, this game is for everybody. Like, yeah, I guess it's for kids, but it's also for everybody. If you made a Sly Cooper game, same thing. That's for kids as well as anybody. I think anybody could enjoy a Sly Cooper game. So that, to me, is why it's more important. You'd say, well, why is that such a big deal? Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Well, I think it's because it's not just about, like, making sure the Team Asobi is okay. That should be the priority, right? Like, they need to keep doing this kind of stuff, and I think they will. But the next priority after that is you want more of this stuff. And, a game that kind of fizzles out at 1 to 2 million, like, is that going to start a movement within PlayStation to make more of these games, or does it need to do more sales than that? So, again, this is early. It's going to be interesting when you see, like, the charts that show where it was digitally. And this is a busy month because you could have carryover from Black Myth. Like, Black Myth might be higher than it. You have things like Space Marine 2, that might be higher than it. But really, besides those two games, you got, like, Lollipop Chainsaw, Epic Mickey, Dead Rising, things like even Star Wars Outlaws, and it seems like Star Wars Outlaws isn't even doing all that well. I really hope Astro is at least top 3 when we see all of September, and that's going to happen in October. I'm really hoping it's like Space Marine, Black Myth, Astro. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, if it's number 1, that'd be even better, but that's kind of how I think it's going to shake out. So let me know what you guys think. I'll be covering these numbers when they become available. I'm sure I'll talk slightly less, the more and more we do this, but I do want to cover, how well or not well the game is doing. Let me know what you think. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.